deployed, which I will be talking a little bit about the state of the art, what are the different kinds of reactor systems which we have. And we will also get into the chemistry of things and how does the artificial intelligence and internet-based technology such as IoT, Internet of Things, come into play in this modern era. Since past decade, Internet of Things and artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, and all these variants have become very dominant and popular across disciplines, in every discipline, and we cannot ignore its importance in environment and energy sector as well. So we might not be very successful in completely tackling the environmental issue, but even if we are able to make marginal or partial contribution towards this, these problems of environmental concerns, that will be of importance to us. So a lot of the speakers talked about taking microbes, understanding their genetic systems, and we will do the same here. We talk about designer systems. Escherichia coli, I think a lot of people are from bio backgrounds, so they know there's a bacteria called E. coli, which is well understood. We can adapt that, we can understand that, and get it to work for our synthetic purpose. There's other cyanobacteria, diatom, algae. There are separate conferences dedicated just to algae, for instance. Or, algae are like photosynthetic microbes, in other words, and they can be engineered to meet our needs. So, as an example of a photosynthetic microbe such as algae, we know their biochemical pathway. A lot of the speakers, such as Dr. Huda, talked about regulation and how those regulation has to be understood. But what do we do after we have understood it? We have to make sure that those regulations are now deregulated. We have machinery just like we have in mechanics, gears and pistols and other kind of system to make things work. At the macro level, the same kind of concept is applied at the micro level, if you think it the same way. There are components that go back, bind to an enzyme, affect the catalytic site. Maybe you can alter the method so that there is no more binding, no more regulation, and you can make the flux move in a certain direction to prioritize the synthesis of a single product, such as a lipid, alcohol, biohydrogen, name it and you can have it. Okay? So we have a proprietary patent on it. I'm still waiting for the approval. But the techniques are not limited just to that. These days we have techniques like GWAS, genome-wide association studies. We have TWAS, which is combined with EQTL. TWAS is transcriptome level wide association studies, expression quantitative trait loci, and topologically associated domains. All of these, at least the first two ones, are more dedicated towards the phenotype, how well the organism grows, what are the components it delivers, how much, what is the doubling time, and all these components can be put into the phenotype categories. And the other things like EQTL and topologically associated domains are more related to the domains regulation. Okay, so moving on, here's a sample example of growing microbes in a flask. If you have a photoautotroph or something similar, you need a light source as well. And here comes the physics part of it. You have different pigmentation for different microbes, and though naturally you get the sunlight for these microbes, if you were to engineer it for a particular purpose, you would understand the microbe phenotype very well and make sure that if it requires more of certain wavelength, you would provide that particular wavelength for it to grow faster, more efficient. Okay, similarly, just like we as human beings, like we would like to bask in the sun in the winter to, synthesize vitamin D, it goes for the plants and microbes as well. They would like to absorb light energy and synthesize, I would say fixed carbon dioxide and other things into higher molecules such as sugar in the form of glucose or fructose and other things. So just like we do not like too much of light, where our skin is going to burn, we would go away from the sun in the summers, the microbes also would not like too much high intensity of light. So this is, as you can see, the growth rate, the specific growth rate of the microbe is going to decay after a certain point, right? But this kind of information you need to tap in when you engineer and design your own system which will perform the best. You don't want to put extra light over there so that they start to die off. You want them to live, and if they live, they will fix the carbon dioxide, they'll fix SOx and NOx pollutants from the water and the absorbed water media, and that way you would prolong the retention time by which the reaction from the external system can get into the internal system of the organelles of the cell and synthesize the molecules that you needed. So clearly, if you have a system where there is a wall and the light intensity decays after a certain point, you know where the maximum growth rate lies, and this information can be used to design your bioreactor system. You do not want a reactor system so big so that the microbe or algae or cyanobacteria is very far from the walls, because that will lead to a great decay in the intensity level, and with the decay in intensity level, the growth rate is going to happen, right? So these kind of physics, I would say, has to be considered while designing a reactor system. As an example, what you must have all seen as a continuous stir tank reactor, you have a reactor with an impeller, which is used to ensure that the media is well circulated, a sparger that makes sure the dissolved oxygen or dissolved carbon dioxide in our case is well absorbed into the media for the microbe to ingest, and this is a very standard photobioreactor system that we have. Improvements to this CSTR can be done if we realize that the light system needs to be well distributed based on the logic that I just told you earlier, that the intensity of light should be well distributed and it should not be very far from the system. And so you can make use of artificial light, but that will cost you money. More intelligently, you can take a concave system to tap in the artificial light to a central focus, and from that central focus point you can diode it by means of optical fiber. Total internal reflection is a physics concept over here. No energy is wasted, or minimum energy is wasted, actually speaking, and then the light is uniformly distributed through the optical fiber system, which uniformly takes the light and distributes it at a longest length. So understanding the concept of how the energy can be tapped in from natural sources and using it to distribute it at regular points would be another source of improving the efficiency of the reactor system we are talking about. Then we can design our system very differently. We need not have a CSTR, a continuous stirred tank reactor. We can have a flat panel reactor so that the distance from the wall itself has reduced. You can, if these days, I think everybody knows about 3D printing, right? 3D printing is a newer technology which is replacing a lot of the existing manufacturing system. You can use 3D printing to design this kind of reactor at the nanoscale level. I would say multiples of nanoscale would be better, because your algae or microbe might itself be at a nanoscale size. So, in multiples of that order, so you will ensure the light is well distributed by the optical system, and using 3D printing, you can have a reactor system which takes care of the distance not being very far from the wall. So even though these pictures might look very, very small and like a lab thing, but actually these things can be scaled up to thousands and 10,000s of liters. It can be, these systems at nanoscale level, when done one after the other, can be as big as 3 times the size of this room. Okay, and that is good enough for cleaning all the water coming from a sewage stream, for example, and all the exhaust gases coming from any coal plant or any such waste system. Talking about reactors further, all these reactors can be further optimized. For example, how many of you know that photosynthesis has a light reaction and a dark reaction? And interestingly, the dark reaction also happens in the presence of light, though it does not require light, and that is why it is called a dark reaction. The split time difference between the two, light reaction and the dark reaction, is the one that can be taken advantage of. But we know that since the dark reaction does not require light, why not we put that certain reaction time in the dark zone, right? So the dark reaction will happen inside the wall and the light reaction will happen outside the wall in the order of split second, in the order of the actual time where the photosynthesis reaction happens, right? Having ensured that the air or the carbon dioxide or the exhaust sources of SOx and NOx are also delivered right from the center, it will ensure that the circulation is there, because we need a circulation system. We have got rid of impeller that we had earlier, so we need a lesser density system in the center that will ensure a circular system is there, and also in the process make sure that the gas is absorbed in the media which is required as a nutrient. So this is the central part. So the gases come from here, they get absorbed in the way, and in the process they will generate a flow over here, and the water molecules will then come back, or rather the media will come back over here. And this is your microbe or an algae, microalgae. It can be spirulina, whatever you want to, and they will absorb the light reaction happening over here. So all this thing, again, can be done in the order of nanoscale, because we have access to 3D printing here, right? So once we have these things devised in the order of nanoscale and we scale it up to the size of this room, is good enough to clean big environmental hazards coming from water body, sewage system, air pollution and every other things. Then again, then coming to the charge to mass value that we talk about is going to be maximized inside the chemical system only when we have a high surface area to volume value. And interestingly, this is one of the dominant design that is there in the bioreactor system, where these helical systems will have a high surface area, which means high light energy that can be tapped in. And again, these can be in the order of nanoscale, then coiled up to make it as huge as possible. You need to regulate the temperature. There will be a peristaltic pump. A peristaltic pump ensures that the pump is ensuring the circulation is happening, and it is ensuring that the living organism is not dying, because it leaves certain gap in between, and it also ensures that there is no contamination because it doesn't actually touches the medium. So as an example of some of the components, here is a degassing system where extra gases can be taken out. By the way, these extra gases can be useful byproduct to us, because what we ingested into the system was carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide and other SOx and NOx. What we got out from this gas are different gases which are rich in oxygen, right? So that is another source of economy driver, apart from cleaning the system and generating energy and other kinds of biomolecules of interest. And we have a non-return valve as an system which ensures the flow does not backfire in the opposite direction. So here is a lab-scale bioreactor that I developed, and it is granted the Indian patent, and it can speed up biomass formation up to 500 times if we operate it with the help of AI systems. When I say AI systems, the AI systems will ensure that all the components of dissolved oxygen, dissolved carbon dioxide, the bicarbonate components, all of them are being tapped in through IoT methods, and we have an AI system in place that will take corrective measure to pour in extra acidic content which we need, or acid-basic content, or any nutrient that might be mixing over there will be all completely automatically controlled. So this is an example of a 100 to 10,000 liters capacity system. Here is the automation system. We can scale it up as big. We have a transparent slab at the top, which will ensure natural light to get in over there. We can augment it by further artificial light if we need, or through optical systems that I talked about earlier. Okay, so that brings me towards the end of my presentation, and some of the key benefits of using a patented or proprietary technology like this is that we ensure that the retention time for the reaction has increased, and because there are no contamination, lipid extractions can be done through an automated way, and lipid is used as a biofuel. I think everybody knows about it. But more popular than that is biohydrogen, which is getting more popular because now we have machine systems which can use hydrogen to run our vehicles, and of course to generate electricity and other kinds of energy sources. We have used machine learning algorithms and Internet of Things methods to get these things working. Okay. Thank you very much.